So today we'll continue uh, in the transport of plant. So we are solving some question related to the transpiration. So transpiration that takes place through the stomata, and it is stomata open and close. So the opening and closing of the stomata has important role. It is regulated. So we have to see some of the factors, and we will solve some question on this. Transpiration takes place usually during the in presence of light, and when the stomata are open, the stomata open, the transpiration takes place. When the stomata close, transpiration stops. So opening and closing of the stomata is controlled by several factors. We have to see the structure of the stomata, and mainly the different phenomena by which the stomata open and close. One question we have that opening This the question is opening and closing of the stomata is also supported by the orientation of the microfibril of the cell wall of guard cell. We know the activity, it is the guard cell which move. Okay, guard cell change its shape and the stomata open and close. And one of the factors is the microfibril, that is the cellulose. We know the cell wall is made of cellulose, and cellulose are long chain, long chain of glucose molecules, and these glucose molecules they make microfibrils. Okay, so what is the orientation of the microfibril in the guard cell wall? That is also helpful in the additional. Here the cellulose microfibrils are oriented dash rather than dash, making it easier for the stomata to open. It is longitudinal or radially. Then which one will be and which be in this gap? So longitudinally, radially, longitudinally, or it is randomly, radially, or randomly, longitudinally. Actually, the stomata made of one pair of the guard cell, and this guard cell, the inner wall is thicker and the outer wall is thinner. When the turgidity of the guard cell increase, the cells increase its volume, but the increase in volume, it cannot grow in, it cannot grow a straight way in its length. Okay, so it gets bent. This is supported by the orientation of the cellulose microfibril. The microfibril in the guard cell, they are oriented radially. Okay, the cell wall cellulose microfibrils are oriented radially, not longitudinally. And due to this radial orientation, the cell cannot expand. Its radius does not expand much, but the cell grow in length. And when the cell grow in length, but there is no space, so the cell become bent. It move outward. Here, this cell wall is thick on the inner side also, so this side cannot expand much. The thinner outer wall that expand, and along with the support of the radially oriented microfibril, the stomata bend outward. The guard cell bend outward and the stomata open. So the stomatal pore is open now. So it is here that oriented radially rather than longitudinally. So the, our answer option is 2, that the radial orientation of the cellulose microfibril in the cell wall of the guard cell help in the easy opening of stomata. The stomata actually, this guard cell with their thick inner wall and thin outer wall. When the turgidity of the guard cell, turgidity of guard cell increases, the stomata open. Higher is the turgidity, wider opening of the guard cell, and the rate of transpiration increases. Transpiration in old strain and fruit through hydathodes, epitheme, stomata, lenticels. Usually the stomata is found in the younger part of the plant. The stomata are mainly located on the leaves and young shoots, that is young stem and branches. But some of the deciduous plant, they set their leaves all together at a time, and for some time the plant does not have any leaves. But at that time also the plant has to transpire. They have to release water. So they don't have leaves, so they don't have the stomata at that time. The fruit also transpire. Old stem also release water, and this is carried out by another type of transpiration that we call is the lenticular transpiration. Lenticular or lenticeller. This that is the transpiration takes place by a special structure that is called lenticels. Lenticels are found, they are found in the wall of the fruits and the old stem. So the these lenticels, and lenticels are crack like natural opening on the bark of trees and fruit wall. So through these lenticels, these are the natural opening. Here the cells are very loosely arranged. This is crack on the bark. As the cells are very loose in this portion, so it helps in the exchange of gases as well as respiration. Exchange of gas as well as transpiration. Okay, this is lenticel, just appear like the crack. So deciduous trees and the stem and the fruit, they carried out transpiration through lenticel. গান শুরু হয়ে গেছে কি? Normally, all the plants they have transpiration during the daytime because the stomata open in presence of light and closes at night. So no transpiration at night. But there are some plants where the this cycle of transpiration is different, and the stomata of camp plant, The CAM plant, CAM stand for crassulation, crassulation acid metabolism. This is a type of photosynthesis. Crassulation acid metabolism. This in the chapter of the photosynthesis, we will learn in detail about this. These are plants of CAM plants are xerophyte, xerophytic succulent. Okay, they are xerophytic succulent plant, fleshy with their fleshy leaves, a bright phylum, etc. Okay, these plants have a different types of uh, cycle of transpiration. Their transpiration takes place. They do not open their stomata during the daytime because this plant go in a place where there is very less water is available, so they cannot bear the loss of water by opening their stomata during the daytime. So what they do, they open their stomata at night for the exchange of gases. Okay? Because for the photosynthesis, respiration, they require gases. For photosynthesis, they have to uh, absorb the carbon dioxide, so they have to open their stomata. They cannot do that thing during the daytime. If they open their stomata during daytime, lot of water will be evaporated and the plant may die, and that's why they their stomata open during night and closes during the day. So as they close it during the daytime, they save water loss. By exchanging gas, by opening the stomata during the daytime, they don't have problem. But if it open the stomata, water loss will be there. So they have adopted a different mode to save their life from desiccation. And so it opens during the night and closed during the daytime. Stomata plants open due to hello, hello, student, can you hear me? Hello? আরে কোনো অডিও টডিও চলছে নাকি কি চলছে সঙ্গে? কিছু একটা চলছে বোধহয় সঙ্গে নাকি influx of potassium iron Number two, efflux of potassium ion. Influx of hydrogen ion. Influx of calcium ion. See, the stomatal movement, okay? The stomatal movement is due to that change in turgor of guard cell. Okay? Turgor change of the guard cell. This turgor is changed by imbibing water in the guard cell. That the guard cell absorb water and turgidity increase. So it is that endosmosis, so that increased turgor and stomata open. At the time of closure of stomata, the turgor is lost, turgor decreases, so the stomata closes, and decrease of turgor is due to exosmosis. Okay, but we have to see that what causes this endosmosis and exosmosis. The exosmosis and endosmosis, that is due to the movement of water into the guard cell and out of the guard cell, and this is due to change in the water potential of the guard cell in compared to the surrounding cell. So what happened that the factor that can change the osmotic potential of the water potential of the guard cell, that is the potassium ion. Potassium ion has the capacity to change the osmotic potential or the water potential of the guard cell. During the modern theory of the stomatal movement, movement is that potassium ion flux hypothesis. Okay? It has been observed that during the opening of the stomata, potassium ion from the neighboring cell enter into the guard cell. এই এটা খুব ডিস্টার্বিং কিন্তু বুঝলে খুব ডিস্টার্বিং কিছু এই চলছে ওই ইয়ে খোলা আছে কোনো ভিডিও টিডিও বা কিছু একটা স্টুডেন্টের হোক বা কারো হোক আমার কথা শোনা যাচ্ছে তো কিন্তু আমার কানের মধ্যে ওই
সেটাও রেকর্ডিং হচ্ছে আমরা যে কথোপকথন করছি সেটাও রেকর্ডিং হচ্ছে
কিন্তু ওখান থেকে ইয়ে আসছে তো okay that modern theory of the stomatal movement is the
এটা তো আমি কিছু করতে পারবো না স্যার এটা তো
so modern theory is that the potassium iron flux hypothesis. Okay, during the opening of the stomata, at the time of opening, potassium ion moves into the guard cell, and that decreases the water potential of the guard cell, and water move inside the guard cell, and that cause the increase in the turgor. So potassium ion moves in, and this causes the decrease in the water potential, water potential and so endosmosis, increase turgidity, increases, and the stomata open. Okay. So it is potassium ion moves in, stomata open. So it is influx of stomata of a plant open due to this influx of the potassium ion. When the potassium ion move in, then there is water also moves in and stomata open. This influx of potassium ion, the positive charge of the potassium ion in the guard cell is balanced by the exchange of the positive ion hydrogen ion. So hydrogen ion moves out as the positive charge from the potassium that moves in. So hydrogen ion moves out, and it is also that potassium ion, the positive charge is also balanced by the negative charge of the chloride ion. The chloride ion also moves inside. So this exchange of potassium ion is balanced by the either the hydrogen ion moves out, or along with the potassium ion, chloride also moves in. So this is the modern theory And at the time of closure of the stomata, at the time of closure of stomata, the potassium ion moves out. So the water potential increases, water moves out of the guard cell, turgidity falls, and the stomata again close. At the time of the closure of the stomata, along with the movement of potassium ion outside, it has been observed that ABA hormone, abscisic acid, ABA plant hormone, is also involved. So closure of the stomata is also controlled by abscisic acid. This abscisic acid, it is the stress hormone. So during the stress, water stress condition, this abscisic acid is produced in the guard cell, and this abscisic acid initiate the closure of the stomata. The classical theory of stomatal movement is the change in the classical theory of stomatal movement is a starch sugar, or it is a starch sugar or the glucose hypothesis. This theory indicates that during the daytime, during the day, in presence of light, the starch is converted into glucose, and this glucose increase the osmotic pressure of the guard cell, because glucose is soluble in water and starch is insoluble in water. Insoluble substances does not change the osmotic pressure of a solution. Okay, so when the glucose during the daytime, glucose is synthesized by photosynthesis. So in the guard cell, glucose is added by photosynthesis, as well as the starch is converted into glucose. So the glucose concentration increase, and the solution in the guard cell is more concentrated now. That more concentrated solution absorb water by osmosis from the neighboring cell, and the turgidity of the guard cell increases and the stomata open. So at night, at night, this there is no photosynthesis, so glucose is not synthesized, and also at night the pH value of the guard cell promote the conversion of glucose into starch. So the glucose concentration in the guard cell decreases and the osmotic pressure of the guard cell decrease. That osmotic pressure, when the guard cell decrease, the water will move outward. So the cell become flaccid, the guard cell become flaccid, and stomata closes. So during daytime, starch convert into glucose. At the same time, by photosynthesis, add glucose. During the night, that is in dark, this glucose converted into a starch, and also glucose is no photosynthesis, no glucose is produced. So this is the theory, but this classical theory, this theory cannot explain that how in some of the plants the stomata open during night. So the modern theory is, that is the potassium iron flux theory, that is the most accepted one, which can explain the stomatal movement at any time during the day as well as night. Guttation is seen in ending guttation. This is also a process through which water is lost by the plant. Water is lost by the plant with transpiration, guttation, and bleeding. So, three ways, that is transpiration, guttation, and bleeding. This transpiration takes place directly, that is through the stomata, lenticels, through the bark, through the cuticle. Guttation is the loss of water in liquid form. This is loss of water in liquid form, and through a special structure, and that structure is known as hydrothode, or it is also known as water stomata. Hydrothodes are a special structure. This is opening at the vein ending of leaves. This is vein ending of the leaf, whether it is at the margin or at the tip. Okay, so it is found in some of the grasses and also several herbaceous plants, that is in the dicot. Grasses are monocot and dicot plant. So guttation so this is many herbaceous plant, and in the grasses, drop by drop the water come out. Sometimes these things occur. Guttation is very prominent during the early morning, during winter, and at night. But sometimes we get it confused with the guttation is it seems to be that the dewdrop, okay, in the during the winter and early morning. So here is, this one is both. Here number one also correct, number two also correct. So this is our answer will be number three, that is both one and two. Okay, so today we'll close it here. If you have any question, you can contact me through the center.